Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Noctilucant channel. I wasn't planning on making a video today, but I just read something on Facebook that was quite shocking to me, and at first I thought it was just a rumor, a speculation, but after doing a little research I found out that it was in fact true, and after reading and just, processing my emotions, I felt like I should probably make a video and just say a few things. Anyway, on to the news, which actually turns out to be very sad news. Andrea Meyer, she was murdered on Wednesday this week by an Islamic terrorist in Norway. Now you may say to yourself, who is Andrea? I've not heard of this person. Well, let me tell you a little bit about her. Andrea Meyer was a dark ambient folk musician who was originally from Germany but moved to Norway in the early 90s. Andrea was known as a pagan revivalist and a practitioner of pagan faith. She had wrote books on it, had a lot of social commentary on it, and she also was well known in the late 90s for her project Hagalaz Runedance. Hagalaz Runedance was a project that I feel was way ahead of its time. It was a sort of pagan and Neofolk music which had this very timeless quality. It sort of just breathed paganism and just ancient traditions. It was a very, very special project. And like nowadays projects like Rune or Heilung or Ose and the Jupiter are pretty popular bands in that scene. But back in the 90s, there really wasn't any other bands like that. It was a very unique sound, and I feel like Andrea was just a real, someone who just created this style of music, and others just sort of adapted it and made it their own. She's definitely, a very special woman who, created a genre that continued to thrive onwards through the 90s and well into this new era we are in now. After Hagalaz Runedance, she went into a project called Nebelhexë, which was, and I haven't listened to this project in many years, but I feel like it was like a more, electronic version of kind of what she had been doing earlier with Hagalaz Runedance, but it has been a really long time since I listened to that project, and I had owned one CD and I sold it at some point, so I don't know what that means. It might be something I just wasn't into at the time, but I think as far as my memory is concerned, it was a more electronic project, and I believe she continued to release several albums with that project, and then that came to an end maybe 5-10 years ago. I'm not exactly sure. But of course, Andrea is most well known for her old project Aghast and their album Hagalaz. I'm gonna let Google handle this one.
Hexerei im Zwielicht der Finsternis.
Yes, thank you. Very good, Google. That's awesome. I love it. I could not have properly pronounced that right. Yes. Aghast's first and only album was released in 1995 back on the Coleman Industry label, and is, by most accounts, one of the first and by far one of the most impressive ritualistic dark ambient albums ever created. The album has a very murky, shadowy kind of feel to it. It is an album that you can sort of picture yourself in some sort of like shadowy valley in Norway. Everything's shrouded in fog, and you're just sort of slowly moving around this foggy world. Well, in the distance, you hear these witches calling you, and it doesn't sound like it's going to end well. It's a very menacing and very dark, creepy album that, for me personally, I heard several years ago, probably about 20 years ago, and it is an album that has stuck with me through the years, and as far as ritualistic and occult-sounding dark ambient music is concerned, this is one of the best ever. So the album was created by two women, Noct and Nebel. It is it's a really just interesting album that I think it really, you could just listen to it and really just allow a grim story to unfold in front of you. It is an album that has just been timeless in the scene, and I think and I hope that it's an album that most dark ambient fans have heard. Even though ritualistic dark ambient has been around for a long time, this is a record that I feel has a very unique atmosphere. It is, even having heard several other ritualistic dark ambient projects, I have never heard anything that just captures the same atmosphere. There's just this grimness, this foggy murkiness that this one and only album from Aghast captures so magnificently. Another kind of interesting thing about this album is that both women were actually linked to the black metal scene, and I've heard tell that this record actually made bigger waves in the black metal scene than the actual dark ambient and post-industrial scene at the time. Andrea Meyer, aka Nebel, in the early 90s she was married to Samoth from Emperor, and if you know Emperor, you know that they released some of the best black metal albums ever back in the early 90s. And Noct, she was also, and I'm not 100% sure about this, but I heard she was also married to Fenris from Darkthrone back in around that same time period. So it's really interesting that both these women, were married to black metal musicians, but didn't ever have a black metal band. Although they never formed a black metal band or were permanent members of a black metal band, Andrea had a small amount of involvement in the black metal scene, most notably with Cradle of Filth, as she did the female vocals on their first album, The Principle of Evil Made Flesh, and she also did some narration on Satyricon Nemesis Divina. Noct, the other member of this band, I don't think she did much outside of this project. She had a small involvement on the first North Holland album, The Ominous Silence, but other than that, there wasn't really a whole lot that came out of this woman. I believe she did have Noct, her stage name, and as also a solo project that emerged in the late 90s or early 2000s, but I don't think she released much more than a few singles and a few compilation tracks before that project dissolved too. Alright, so on the front cover we have just what I sort of described earlier. It's just, it's so easily visualized through this music. You just see this dark, foggy, ominous just world. It's really, really cool. There's the back cover, which is another landscape shot. Super dark immersion here. It's really great stuff. The booklet, photography. There's the two members, the two witches, Noct and Nebel. Yeah, super cool stuff, man. Just a total classic of the black metal, black ambient and dark ambient scene. Truly classic stuff. This original Cold-Made Industry press, I'd imagine, is a bit hard to get across. Well, you could probably get it, but you probably would have to pay a pretty penny for it on Discogs or eBay, as it's been out of print for many years, obviously. But it was recently, I think 3 or 4 years ago, re-released by Infinite Fog Productions from Russia, both as a CD, vinyl, and a cassette tape. So if you have never heard this album, I absolutely implore you, make sure you add it to your collection immediately. A clear and just awesome classic. That's a little bit about Aghast, just some of Andrea's past musical accomplishments, and just a really amazing career that has now been cut short. She was only 45 years old, and in case you don't actually know how she died, it was an Islamic terrorist attack, and by this fucking coward who went into a market and just started shooting people with a bow and arrow, of all things. He killed 5 people and injured several others, and so far the details seem to be very sketchy and just not very clear, but it's pretty much commonly accepted that this man, who was from the Netherlands, who was a convert to Islamic, is an Islamic terrorist who was trying to have a religious attack on people. It makes me sad that in 2021 we are still killing each other over trivial bullshit like religion, like in a way religion's just fine, but it's when you have these extremists, and let's be honest with each other, the extremists exist in every version of religion out there. It doesn't matter what kind of religion it is. All religion has extremists, and when these extremists reach the point where they feel like they have to murder random non-believers, that is so fucked up. And the fact that this just keeps happening, we see it so much here in the United States, but when you start seeing it in like Scandinavian countries and just, all parts of the world, it really makes you wonder why, like, we just can't fucking get along and just, accept each other more for who we are, the individuals and the special people we are. It's just just sad to think that people have to die for just such pointless reasons. To have several people, have their lives cut short, just because some fucking psycho out there, thought they deserved to be punished for not believing what he believed. Well, it's just a very improv video. I had not prepared any of this beforehand, and as I already said earlier, I had not prepared or planned on doing a video today, but I just felt like I had to say a few things, and you know, again, just really tragic to hear that Andrea Meyer passed away. She, you know, it was, like I said, she was huge in the pagan community and had wrote books and just was seen as the key figures and the revivalist of, you know, this ancient religion, and you know, it's something that I myself have been quite interested in all my life, and I mean, having heard Hagalaz Runedance many, many years ago, I can only assume her music had an influence on, you know, a lot of things I feel and believe myself nowadays. So with that being said, cheers to you, Andrea Meyer, rest in power, and we'll see you in Valhalla. Skål.